2 words. That's all it takes. 2 words so simple, so completely ordinary. You've likely said them 1,000 times without realizing you were holding a loaded weapon. But deliver them at the exact right moment, in the exact right tone. Something shifts inside a woman's brain. Something she cannot control, cannot override, and cannot forget. Most men spend lifetimes searching for the perfect script. They write essays and text messages, build monuments out of compliments, and beg for validation. They think more is better. Machiavelli knew better. Today, I am going to give you those 2 words. But more importantly, I am going to expose the psychological engine that makes them lethal. Because without the why, words are just noise. With the why, they become the most powerful psychological tool you will ever carry. Most men treat language like background noise. They think actions are the only things that leave a mark. They are wrong. Niccolò Machiavelli, the master strategist of the Renaissance, understood a dark truth about human interaction. Words do not just carry information. Words establish frames. Every sentence out of your mouth positions you. It tells the other person exactly where you stand in relation to them, in real time. And most men, through careless habit, willingly lower themselves into a psychological trap. Think about the phrases men default to when they want to impress. Can I take you out sometime? Notice the subtext. Can I? It is a plea for permission. You have placed her on a pedestal and asked to be granted access. I'd do anything for you. You think it sounds romantic. Machiavelli would call it suicide. You have just announced you have no limits, no boundaries, and no price. Infinite supply equals 0 value. Or the worst one. You're so beautiful, I can't believe you're talking to me. Translation: I have assessed my own value, found it deficient, and I am publicly thanking you for your charity. It feels harmless, but you have violated the foundational law of influence. Never position yourself beneath the person you want to attract. The 2 words I am about to give you do not place you above her. That would be cheap arrogance. They do something far more dangerous. They anchor you. Before the reveal, you must understand the machinery. Machiavelli never cared about syllables. He cared about power dynamics. In chapter 25 of The Prince, he writes about fortune, comparing it to a violent, flooding river that destroys everything in its path. Then, he drops the secret. The man who succeeds is the man whose mode of proceeding matches the exact moment he is in. Not the smartest man, not the richest, the man with psychological range. The man who can be firm, then gentle, intense, then entirely detached, present, then completely absent. He cannot be predicted because he is not performing from a script. He matches the moment. Now, look at the average modern interaction. Most men are locked in a single, exhausting mode, the trying mode. Trying to impress, trying to connect, trying to prove they are enough. Women have an evolutionary radar for this energy. It is forward-leaning, hungry, desperate. It screams, I need something from this interaction. The moment she senses that need, her psychological guard goes up. Need creates pressure, and pressure destroys attraction. The 2 words we are discussing break this engine entirely. They violently shift you from chasing to anchoring. They trigger a loop of deep, unresolved curiosity. The kind that keeps her awake at 1 a.m., replaying the conversation, searching for clues to a puzzle you gave her just enough pieces to see, but never finish. The 2 words are, I know. Do not dismiss this as simple. Simplicity is the camouflage of genius. When these 2 syllables are deployed in specific, high-stakes scenarios, they transform from ordinary English into a psychological disruption she has likely never experienced from another human being. Let me show you exactly how they work in the wild. This is where most men completely implode. Men are so starved for validation that when a compliment lands, they fumble the ball. She looks at you and says, you look really good tonight. The average man immediately overthinks, deflects, or desperately returns the favor. Really? Wow. Thanks, that means a lot. You look incredible too, seriously. What she hears is, validation received. He values my opinion of him far more than his own opinion of himself. File under, sweet, but entirely uncompelling. Now, change the script. She says, you look really good tonight. You maintain steady eye contact. A faint, knowing smile touches your lips. You say, I know. Then, silence. You do not explain. You do not reciprocate. The shift in her brain is seismic. Every man she has ever complimented has rewarded her with gratitude or validation-seeking behavior. You did neither. You absorbed her compliment as information you already possessed. Your self-assessment does not depend on her input. In his discourses, Machiavelli noted that effective leaders receive honors with the air of men who fully expected them, not out of vanity, but because they already knew their worth. I know communicates exactly that. Your compliment is welcome, but unnecessary. I was aware of my value before you walked into the room. This level of self-contained value is deeply disruptive. It breaks the pattern, and pattern interruption is the precise doorway to obsession. This is where the words evolve from a confident play into something profound, something that bypasses her defenses entirely. Every woman carries an emotional space she protects fiercely, a fear, an insecurity, a piece of her story she hides because the last time she showed it, a man flinched, fixed, or fled. They got uncomfortable. They tried to manage it like a problem, or they ran. So, she tests the waters. Late at night, when the noise dies down, she drops a genuine piece of her raw reality. She looks down and whispers, "Sometimes I feel like I'm just too much for people to handle." The average man rushes to reassure her. No, you're not. You're amazing. Anyone who thinks that is crazy. It is well-intentioned, but it fails. Why? Because it invalidates her experience. It tells her that what she deeply feels is wrong, trying to fix it rather than witnessing it. Now listen to the master frame. Sometimes I feel like I'm just too much for people to handle. You do not blink. Your voice drops. You say, I know. Soft, grounded, heavy with the weight of a man who is entirely unsurprised, because he saw it, understood it, and accepted it long before she found the courage to speak it out loud. The subtext here is staggering. First, she feels utterly seen. Not evaluated, seen. Second, her complexity does not scare you. You are not trying to talk her out of her reality. You are proving you are strong enough to hold space within it. Machiavelli observed that the most unbreakable loyalty is not built on favors, but on recognition. The moment people feel truly understood in their darkest complexities, they bind themselves to that source. I know is recognition stripped of all fluff. Women test men constantly. It is an evolutionary survival mechanism to scan for weakness. Most men fail because they fight the words instead of answering the subtext. She looks at you with a sharp edge in her voice and says, I bet you say that to every single girl. The average man panics. He scrambles to defend his character. No, I swear. I'm serious. I don't talk to anyone else like this. You're completely different, I promise. Every syllable drips with anxiety. His house of cards just shook. She did not actually care about other girls. She wanted to see what happens to your confidence when she applies pressure. Does the strong man dissolve into an explaining child? Now, use the weapon. I bet you say that to every single girl. You flash a slight, amused grin. You say, I know, and you leave it completely up in the air. You did not deny it. You did not confirm it. You stepped entirely outside her trap and established your own frame. She cannot categorize your response. Is he joking? Is he serious? Is he teasing me? Because she cannot file it away, her brain is forced to process it. She has to analyze it. She has to think about it. And thinking about you is the absolute first step toward obsessing over you. Machiavelli warned that a prince who constantly explains himself weakens his authority. Explanation implies doubt. A leader who responds with unreadable composure forces the challenger to second-guess their own attack. You give her absolutely nothing to push against. This is the ultimate high-stakes deployment. This separates the psychological masters from the boys. The temperature shifts. The text messages get shorter. The warmth starts to evaporate. You can feel her pulling away. Finally, she voices it. I think I just need some space right now. Every desperate instinct inside a man screams to chase. To ask why? To send the massive paragraph. To make the grand, pathetic gesture. Instead, you take a breath. You anchor yourself. You look at the message, or look into her eyes and say, I know. 2 syllables. No chase. No panic. No interrogation. You recognized the shift before she even named it. And you did not shatter. You met the distance with the calm stability of a man who knows exactly who he is with or without her presence. This communicates an incredible truth. Your identity is entirely self-sustaining. You respect her boundary enough not to fight it, but you value yourself enough not to beg. This composure creates an immediate, paradoxical effect. The moment she realizes your absence does not diminish you, she begins to question the very space she asked for. Machiavelli spent chapters analyzing the art of the strategic retreat. The leader who can step back without showing weakness often wins more territory than the one who advances desperately. Why? Because it proves you are not afraid of losing the ground. The genuine realization that you will be perfectly fine without her is the single most compelling reason for her to make sure she never loses you. Let us pull back the curtain on all 4 deployments. The superficial dating gurus will tell you this is about frame control or simple confidence. They are missing the deeper architecture. The real reason I know carries a gravity well is because it signals the absolute peak of human development, self-possession. Not confidence. Confidence can be performed. Self-possession, the absolute, undeniable ownership of your own reality, your own value, and your own soul. A self-possessed man does not outsource his identity to the person standing in front of him. He does not need her compliment to feel powerful. He does not need to pass her test to feel worthy. He does not need her proximity to feel whole. He already knows. Machiavelli observed that people naturally surrender their loyalty to self-possessed individuals, not because they are forced to, but because in a chaotic, spinning world, a self-possessed man acts as a gravitational anchor. He is a fixed point, a lighthouse. When you say, I know, and mean it down to your bones, you become that fixed point. But Machiavelli never handed over a blade without warning you how it could cut you. Listen carefully. I know from a man who genuinely possesses himself is magnetic. I know from an insecure man trying to play a character is pathetic. And human intuition can spot the difference in a fraction of a second. If you use these words as a slick tactic while secretly dying for her approval, the words will ring hollow. The performance will look like cheap theater. You will not generate attraction. You will generate intense second-hand embarrassment. Nothing is more repulsive than a man wearing a personality he has not earned. Machiavelli explicitly warned princes against adopting the mere appearance of strength without building the actual fortresses to back it up. When the facade cracks, and it always cracks, the fall is devastating. People do not just lose respect, they feel manipulated. So here is the rule. Do not say the words until you actually know. Do not speak the text until you have built the man behind it. The words are simply the last inch of a very long, very painful mile. You cannot skip the mile and expect the reward. The mile is the real internal work. It is the process of building a foundation that no external opinion can shake. First, conquer solitude. If you cannot sit alone in a room for 30 minutes without reaching for a digital distraction, you are running from your own company. Solitude is where self-possession is forged. Second, accumulate real evidence of your competence. Do not repeat empty affirmations in the mirror. Go do hard things. Face the situations that terrify you. Finish the brutal tasks you start. Build real receipts of your capability. Third, stop outsourcing your emotional stability. When discomfort hits, sit with it. Do not look for a quick fix or external validation to take it away. Master your own internal weather. Machiavelli watched an entire empire fall because it was run by men who wore massive crowns but possessed zero internal authority. Men who commanded legions but could not command their own desires. He distilled his life's work into a single truth. The man who truly knows himself cannot be broken by the world outside. 2 words carry that entire legacy. I know, not as a parlor trick, not as a pickup line, as a quiet declaration of an absolute, completed internal journey. When you can speak those words and feel the undeniable truth of them echo through your chest, you won't need to watch videos like this ever again. Because a man who truly knows his worth already has everything he needs. The words cost nothing. The man behind them will cost you everything you have. Pay the price.